It's time to bring you yet another amazing episode. And now, welcome your host.
Good to have you on the podcast, Larry Olive from Omobola Stephen. On the podcast, we explore transformational topics that are disruptive yet constructive in nature on the personal development and self-improvement with expert and professionals who have been there and done that as regards providing insights that are transformative in nature on the personal development and self-improvement topics. We always emphasize the need for you and I to embrace personal development and self-improvement along the course of our lives. I said, tell you that when we do so, we tend to find ourselves along the way. And it's such a beautiful experience when we get to find ourselves, knowing who we truly are in this side of eternity, and also embracing all of the beautiful bounties that life has in offer for us if we don't give up. Now, personal development and self improvement is a lifelong process. And so we shouldn't ever think of giving up because when we personally develop ourselves and improve ourselves, we get to be a better and a truer version of ourselves. This is the mission and the focus of Larry Olive Omobola Stephen. We offer transformative insight that will pivot the positive changes you and I need as we traject in this life. Today, I have Shannon Russell, who is a career transition and business coach. She's an exit strategy expert and the CEO of Second Act Success Coaching on the podcast Larry Olive by Omobola Stephen. I'm your host, Omobola Stephen, and thank you for joining me, Shannon, as we explore this very important topic, especially talking about the women and the exit strategy. You have a professional experience and also an expertise in this regard to provide for the women out there. Thank you for joining me once again, Shannon.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Absolutely looking forward once again. You spent over 16 years as a TV producer before you decided to stop producing shows for others. Now you empower women to live unfulfilling careers and build joyful, purpose-driven businesses that allows them to live their best lives in their second act. Now, we bearing this in mind, the question I'd like to ask you is, are you invariably telling us that you have been in an unfulfilling career for that long? Or why did you have to wait that long? If that is a yes.
I personally, for me, waiting that long, I loved my career. I loved working in television. It was just when I began to have a family and my two little boys that I realized I needed to switch and try something different. So I don't think you necessarily need to wait for that perfect moment, especially if you're in a career that doesn't fulfill you and is a little toxic. I know a lot of people have toxic workplaces that they just need to escape. So I think the timing is all comes to you and really knowing when you want to make that pivot.
All right, between toxicity and also fulfillment, how will you place that? I'd like you to just share that in the right perspective.
Oh yeah, so I think it really is all about where you feel you are. I love my career. My career just wasn't in the place that I it wasn't aligned with what I wanted in that second half of my life. So I think whether you love your job or it is an unpleasant work environment, I think those are times where you can really turn inward and ask yourself those questions. Am I happy here? Is this something that I want to be doing for the next 5, 10, 20 years? And then you can start to think about where you might go because it's not safe to stay in a place that is toxic and unhealthy. You want to thrive and you want to be excited every morning when you wake up and do your work. So really checking in on yourself, I think, is the first step in figuring out how to move to that next act in your life.
Absolutely. No. So now, what are some tips that can help someone know when they should make a change in work or in life? Do you have some tips you can share? I know do you do.
Yeah, I honestly think it is finding those 5 minutes during your day or during your week where you can turn inward and check in with yourself because so often we're so busy, we don't check in with ourselves to see if we're okay. And then once you say, you know what, I'm not really happy here, this isn't fulfilling me, I think I'm meant to be doing more, that's when you can take a piece of paper out and you can write down what you're thinking, what you're dreaming about. Even if you think it's so far off, write it down and then make another another sheet of paper where you write down all of your skills and experience from your career up until this point. And sometimes when I have clients do that, they'll say, "Oh, everyone can do this." And then I'm like, "No, you have a very unique set of skills that you need to be proud of." And now, when you look at your list of skills, you can look at those potential businesses or career changes you might be thinking of, and you can see how those align. And that just starts to get you thinking about what that next step could be. So it's just those small little action steps that you can take to say, "Oh, maybe I am onto something. Let me research that potential role or business a little further." And then as you research more, you get more confident and you might want to take that actual leap into that second act.
But really, waiting that long, 16 years, really, it's a really long time for you to wait in an organization. And talking about that, how can you, or what are some tips or strategies that can help a woman experience, or when it's time for them to make a change, why do they have to struggle to effect that change?
I think a lot of times women feel, and I can speak for myself because I definitely felt this way and feel this way, that we hold everything together in our home, right? We take care of the children, we take care of the house, we take care of our parents, we take care of everything. And so we put ourselves last and we just say, "You know what? I'll suck it up. I'll suck it up for a little bit longer. I'll wait until this perfect time to make a change and to worry about myself." And so I think, at least for me, I felt like I was going through the motions. And like, again, I did enjoy my job, but I felt like I was going through the motions, trying to do all the things that I needed to do, that society tells us we need to do. But then I didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't feel like it was aligned with my life. And so a lot of times I think women do that. We just stay on that same path because it's what's expected of us. But when we can sit here and really think about that potential role that we would want to move into, there are ways to do it strategically and methodically where you don't disrupt your whole life and cause, chaos in your family. So it's just a matter of finding ways to make that step into that new business or new role in a safe way so that we can feel like we are allowed to do it, we want to do it, we want to pursue it, and we're not disrupting everything else, because oftentimes we just want to keep the peace at home. We want to keep everything cohesive and calm and not shake things up. But if we're unhappy, we need to at times, don't you think?
Sure. I know, but let's be realistic here. 16 years, 20 years, 15 years is a long time. Now, in all of this period, you will have garnered a lot of experience, expertise, and also added some skills which you never thought you had. And that's the beauty of staying on the job and learning on the job. Now, how can a person how can a person take their career experience and use it to launch a business as you do in your own time?
Absolutely. I think there is something about what I call like that thread from your, what you've done in the past to a business. And I like to tell my clients to make a career story. So we look at the experience and the skills and the accolades and everything we've accomplished in every role we've ever had up until this point. And you say, "Okay, here's the business I want to build. What correlates?" Maybe I was really good at managing people, so I'm going to be really great at hiring my own team and managing them. Or maybe I was really creative with the marketing aspect of the company I worked for. I'm going to use that to market this business. So when you start to look at your experience and how it correlates, and then you can look at kind of the story and how you're going to sell yourself as the perfect person to run that business and market that business, you can look and say, "Wow, like I really did work with all of these nonprofits, for example, and now I'm going to open my own nonprofit." Like, how great is that story? And it correlates so well. For me, my first business was a franchise business. I ran that for 8 years, and then I opened, 4 years into that, I opened my coaching business. But I said, "You know what? I produced television shows with really large budgets, overseeing huge teams and basically taking an idea into a reality. I can produce these businesses and I can take this idea and make it a reality using all of these skills." And I think anyone else can do that, looking at their past, looking at their present, and drawing, pulling those threads, drawing those lines, and then coming up with a really creative story of why you're the perfect person to run that business based on your experience from your past.
Now, absolutely. That's I believe that that's what your organization does. Now, do you think skills can be built without changing jobs?
Oh, I do. I think they can. And I think, nowadays we're so lucky to be able to take a course online and get extra training online if we want to, or take a course at a community college. There's ways to fill in those gaps if you don't have those particular skills. Or as a business owner, the beauty is that you can hire for the things you're not good at or the things that you just no longer want to do. So you might be really good at numbers and budgets, but you might not want to do that anymore as you build your business. So then you hire someone to come in that has that expertise. So maybe you don't have to worry about that. Or if there's something you don't know how to do, you can hire for that. So you don't have to take a class and learn about it. So I think you can start and learn as you go. It doesn't have to be a perfect business from day one.
Thank you so much, Shannon. But the question on the minds of the audience is that what made you conclude that having a career path in life doesn't cut it anymore and that we can do it all? Don't you think that that becomes jack of all trade and master of none?
Ooh, I like that question. I think it can, depending on your mindset and what your goal is. For me, I like the idea of checking all the boxes in life. I really look at life as this one um, lucky adventure that we get, and all the things we get to do on it, we're blessed to be able to do. So I looked at when I left my career in television, I celebrated it. I looked at it as something that I accomplished that was a dream of mine when I was a little girl. I did it, I celebrated it, and I put it on the shelf and I said, okay, what's next? I'm going to open a business. I'm going to produce this business. My first business I sold in 2024, and I said, I did it. I sold it successfully. It's still running with someone else. Check that box. And now what's next? I'm growing my coaching business and I wanted to write a book. My book comes out in a few weeks. So check that box. So if you can look at life like, you're checking the boxes, you're having all of these adventures and you're building on to the person you are and the person you want to be, and you're just making yourself a more well-rounded person. That's the way I choose to live life and look at it. So I think, and for me, I think that everything does correlate that I've done in my career to some extent. So I'm just building on it and growing. You could say I'm a jack of all trades, or other people who do this are. But it's really, if that's fulfilling you, if that's what you want to do, then I say go for it. And again, if you want to just be that master of one thing, then you can do that too. And even if you stay in a similar industry, there's ways to pivot within a career or a company where you can just do a little more. Maybe you start a podcast or you write a book or you teach a course. So you can just add on and do different things within that same industry as well.
Shannon, really good for you. And now that really works for you. But there's some of us that it doesn't work for. We are not wired that way. Some of us, we want to stick to a particular passion and we want to give it all the best that we can give it in order for us to stay fulfilled. What's your take on that?
I think that's great. And just like I was just touching upon, is that you can stay in that path. And if you're finding yourself getting a little bored, wanting a little bit more, you're your own advocate as far as asking your manager, can I try this? Can I maybe move over to this department? Can I take on a leadership role that I haven't been given yet? And really advocating for yourself and finding what will fulfill you within that role, within that industry or that company. And it can be different things. I'm speaking with an organization in the coming months where they don't want me to speak about people leaving the organization. They want to talk about all the ways that you can move around in that organization and find where you're best suited. So if you're getting a little bored in this one department, maybe you want to try this other one and see what you can do. And a lot of companies will have those paths now that can help you get there. If you let them know that you want to deviate over to a different department or team, they'll help you get there on the right path. So I think that staying in one place is great, and just keeping your creativity and your goals aligned so that you can move forward and down that path the way that you want to.
Shannon, I'd like us to move to the gender issues, which is absolutely important. talking about the women folks. Now, this party initiatives to improve gender parity in the corporate ranks over the past decades, I'm sure that you have an idea on these. Gains have been modest. Now, year after year, the data shows that this level of ambition does not come to fruition in terms of gender parity. Why is this so? What's your take on that?
I think that we need to step it up. We're not where we should be with gender equality in the workplace at all. I think we're seeing in the news as of recently too that there's just not a lot of space for women, women who are giving birth to be able to come back to work and make sure that their role is staying safe for them. There's just needs to be a lot more work to be done, but I think the more we can empower women through your podcast, through the work that I do, to say, you've got to make your own way, advocate for yourself, and figure out what works best for you, your life, and your family. And then try to push through those glass ceilings and make your moves in a way that you feel like you're getting your voice across because people aren't going to just hand it to you. There's so many statistics on I'm starting to speak more on stages and there's statistics on there's so many more men speaking on stages than women. There are so many more men with podcasts than women. There are so many more men that get that visibility that we have to fight for. So I think, any little bit that we can do, whether it's within your own company, within a business you're building, or in your personal life, to try to get your voice heard a little bit more is just an advancement for all of us.
But really, Shannon, don't you think that we as women, we love to clamp into a shell? We love to be in the comfort zone, especially when we began to make babies, face the challenges of the home front. And also, we want to build a career. How possible can this be?
I think it's possible for you to figure out what it is that you want to do when you become a parent because everything changes. And that is what changed for me. I realized when I had a 3-year-old and a newborn that I didn't want to travel and work the long hours I was in television. And that's what propelled me to figure out my next act. And I think even for stay at home moms who maybe know that they don't want to go back into the workforce, they want something that is of their own. I was just having coffee yesterday with a friend of mine who's a stay-at-home mom, and she recently launched her own business at home. And it's a small business. They don't necessarily need the money, but she's making these really adorable, like beaded rattles and beaded like clips for your bags and key ring holders, but they're silicone so that babies can chew on them, so they're safe for the babies. But she built that anyway out of a need for herself. And now she's going to local events, craft fairs, she's selling them online on Instagram. And for her, it's so fulfilling for her to be able to have these conversations with other people, get away from just being that mom with the kids all day. Now she gets to at least have conversations online and go out and meet people at craft fairs and still be a stay-at-home mom. So she's finding that fulfillment that way. So I think, when you become a mom, you can make that choice. Do I want to stay home and maybe find something that still fills me up? Or go back to work, whether it's part time or full time, and find that balance. So it's also, individualized, don't you think?
Shannon, really, women lack the right support and network.
Yeah.
Surely we do lack the right support and network. Do you have expertise or do you have experiences you can share in this regard, or also tips or strategies that you can provide for those in this category who really need the support system they can get in order for them to break through the glass ceiling and be the woman that they really truly want to become?
I love that question. I think honestly, in my experience with working with my clients, a lot of times these women have this idea for a business, but they don't think they're going to have the support of their spouse, their partner, their friends and family. And so they're nervous, they're scared. And so they come to me to be that accountability partner to kind of help them get across that bridge, if you will. But so, what I often advise women, just in conversation, is if you have a business idea, keep it close to your chest while you're vetting it, while you're doing your research and getting it built. Don't tell everyone because oftentimes you'll get those naysayers or it could be your partner that just says, no, I don't think you should be doing that. I'm worried about our finances, or stay where you're comfortable. And then you kind of, as women, we revert back into our shell, like you said, and we don't make those moves. So keep it close to your chest. Do that research on your own. Research what this business would look like. Look at other businesses that are in that space online and see how successful or not successful they are. Do your research until you get confident, and once you're confident, then you can start telling people what you're doing, and that confidence will protrude. It'll just come out and they'll see you're confident. And then if they try to talk you down or get you back into your shell, you can say, "Thank you so much, but I know what I'm doing and I'm really excited." So sometimes you need to look elsewhere out of your circle for that support, whether it's a coach, a consultant, a networking group online, Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, meeting other people that have done this or can help you and be your mentor as you try to move from where you are to where you want to be. But I often advise to get someone who's a little bit doesn't have skin in the game, someone who can be impartial rather than go to your best friend or your parents or your spouse.
I really absolutely. Now, if you don't have anyone to support you, just do it anyway. I think that is
Yes.
the right way to go. At the end of the day, everything will fall in place if you don't give
Yes.
up. Thank you once again, Shannon, for that insight. Do you have any exciting news, any projects that you have in the pipeline you think it's going to be beneficial to the audience of Live Well Lived? You come on, you can share that if you have any.
Thank you for asking. My new book is called Start Your Second Act: How to Change Careers, Build a Business, and Create Your Best Life. And it comes out on May 7th this year. So I'm very excited for people who don't work with me to be able to have this resource in their hands to see. Lots of examples of success stories of people who have created businesses. It's really geared towards women. And I want it to be that resource, that workbook, kind of, if you will, for people to start taking some action towards getting unstuck and starting a second act.
Great, good to know. Thanks for sharing that with my audience. We wish you best of luck in this project and also in subsequent projects that you embark upon. You
Thank
like
you.
to share your social media handles and your website so we can connect and learn more about Shannon and what
Yep.
you've been up to lately.
Thank you. Yes, you can go to startyoursecondact.com. That has information on my book, and it has a free resource, which is my journal that you can download and get your ideas down onto paper. And I'm really at Second Act Success on all of social, Instagram, TikTok, and then I'm Shannon Russell Career Coach over on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. Thank you once again. I really permit me to state here also that Shannon Russell is also a podcast host, as I am. So that makes
Yes.
the two of us. Thanks for
Yes.
all you do and also impacting the global audience with your podcast.
Thank
Now,
you so
thank you
much.
once again, Shannon, for sharing your thoughts on today's show. Shannon is a career transition and business coach, an exit strategy expert, and CEO of Second Act Success Coaching, also a podcast host. We really appreciate your time and contributing valuably to the topic of discussion. From the bottom of my heart, sincerely, on behalf of the audience of the podcast, we wish you best of luck in all the projects that you embark upon now and in the nearest future. Shannon?
Thank you so much. This was such a great conversation, and I enjoyed all of your questions. Thank you.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. Thank you once again for gracing the show. If you'd like to catch up with any missed episodes of the podcast, we offer disruptive yet constructive mindship conversations on topics on the personal development and self-improvement that are transformative and pivoting the positive changes you and I need in this side of eternity. Live Knowledge by Omobola Stephen is the podcast that you want to listen to. You can catch up on any missed episodes on any cross-promotion platforms or any podcast distribution platforms you bump into online, and do have a great time. Till I come your way, Omobola Stephen, I always need you to stay safe. I talk to you soon. Thank you once again, Shannon. We had a great
Oh,
time.
Omobola, that was so great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Sure. I do.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe and leave us a review.